It's officially draft week and one of my favorite weeks of the entire year, as months of research and preparation from teams and years upon years of hard work from NFL prospects go from being a mere discussion to reality. And in today's video, we are discussing what each team should do with their first pick on the NFC side. And there's 16 teams to dive into in today's video, so without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video with the Arizona Cardinals. This is very simple. If you take a look at their starting defense at the moment, it's not a good group of players, and they do not need just one good starter. They need as much help as they can get across the board. Their number one goal, no matter how it has to be achieved heading into the draft, has to be to acquire an additional 2024 first-round pick. This is not a one-year rebuild. The Cardinals are not going to be competing in 2023, especially with Kyler Murray out for most of the year, and Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ozenfort know Rome was not built overnight. This draft is about building a foundation for your team's future and getting better for tomorrow. And if they move back to pick 7 or 11, then the goal should be to take the best defensive player available, but not before acquiring a 2024 first-round pick. Next up is the Seattle Seahawks, and in recent mock drafts, we've given the Seahawks Tyree Wilson or even Will Anderson, but I think they should take Jalen Carter. Jalen is a once-in-a-decade player at the defensive tackle position, and thinking out loud for a minute, even if he does not work out because of off-the-field issues, they still have a top 20 pick. It's not often you encounter as risk-free of a top 5 pick as Seattle has, and they need Carter. They lost to the Panthers in 2022 because they gave up nearly 300 rushing yards, and Sam Darnold went into Lumen Field and beat them. Again, because of rushing, but the point stands. They could not stop the run, and there's a pretty good team in their division that runs the football well, and if Carter hits as a player, then you have a multiple-time Pro Bowl player in the middle of your defense that makes life easier for everyone. I truly believe Seattle has to take the risk on Carter if they want to win another Super Bowl before Pete Carroll, who is now 71 years old, retires. The Los Angeles Rams' first pick in the draft is at 36th overall, which is in the second round, and this is a little harder to project because there's going to be a few players that we think will be first-round picks that unexpectedly fall. It happens every year, and for the Rams' sake, I hope a good lineman on either side of the ball falls into their lap. Matt Stafford was sacked 29 times in 2022 in just 9 games, compared to 30 times in 2021, and there were times he wasn't playing scared per se, but it was very much like, oh boy, here we go again. And the Rams need to protect Stafford as he is 35 years old and has a lengthy injury history. So I think the best case scenario for them is if Anton Harrison falls and they scoop him up at 36. But the bottom line for them is they need to protect Matt Stafford a hell of a lot more in 2023 than they did in 2022. The 49ers are not on the clock until the very end of the third round at pick 99, and given they've went to back-to-back NFC Championship games and have been one of the best teams over the last 4 years, they don't have a lot of needs. I really hope they don't take a running back with any of these picks, as sometimes general manager John Lynch gets a little running back happy, but as cliche as this is going to sound, they need to take the best player available. It really doesn't matter the position, and hypothetically speaking, if it were a running back that was projected in the mid to late second that fell to the late third versus a receiver that's a projected early 4th round pick, then in that scenario take the best player available, but this is a damn good roster and there are not a lot of holes. Their defensive line is going to be lethal next year, so I wouldn't recommend they draft on the defensive line either, unless, again, a player nobody expects to falls right into their lap. From the NFC West to the NFC South we go, and we are starting with the Carolina Panthers. This one is pretty simple, and they didn't give up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 3-time 1,100-yard receiver DJ Moore to go up and take anything but a quarterback. Bryce Young is my QB1, and a lot of other people's QB1 for that matter too, and for good reason. He's accurate, he's extremely intelligent, and he elevates his team's level of play. After this trade was initially made, there was a huge shift in the gambling world for CJ Stroud to be the number 1 overall pick, and I would have hated for the Panthers to give up everything they did to take who I believe is the second best quarterback in the draft. I like CJ, but not more than Bryce Young. It's time to get past the Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, PJ Walker, the remnants of Cam Newton, and everything else they've tried over the past few years. Bryce needs to be the pick. Atlanta has the 8th overall pick, and while they recently traded for corner Jeff Okudah, I'm not completely sold he's the long-term guy for them at the number 2 corner spot for the next few years. I think the Falcons' best bet is to get the secondary to as elite of a level as they can to take some pressure off of the pass rush, because I think either Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez are better corners than what Lucas Van Ness or Nolan Smith are as pass rushers. I wouldn't be upset if they chose Nolan at number 8, but I would prefer one of the corners. This all goes without being said that if somehow Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson fall to 8, they need to be the pick over either of the corners. I have been pretty vocal about Atlanta's offense, and I love a lot of the pieces they have on offense, and I think it is pretty clear defense has to be the pick at number 8. Tampa has the 19th overall pick, and I fear this organization is going to fall back down to what they were in the pre-Tom Brady era. And for anyone who just got into football over the last few years, or who may not remember, the Bucs went from 2007 until Tom Brady signed with the team in March of 2020 without a playoff appearance. Tampa has a lot of holes on the roster, especially along the offensive line, but if no offensive lineman fits the value at 19, I think it's pretty simple. Take the best player available, and in this scenario, it could very easily be a corner. You're going to have to stop Bryce Young and Derek Carr in order to win the division, and hopefully for the Falcons' sake, Desmond Ridder too. But you need to improve this roster, and you could convince me of almost any position for the Bucs to take, and as long as it improves their roster, I would be fine with it. I think they are in a borderline dangerous situation and think they will clean house at the end of the year. So for Tampa, it's pretty simple. Whoever is on top of your big board when they're on the clock, make them a Buccaneer. New Orleans' first pick is at number 29 due to the Sean Payton trade, and I think this pick goes one of two ways. They either help Derek Carr and bring in a receiver and have a duo of Chris Olave and the said receiver, or they get help along the defensive line. And I love either pick for the Saints because you didn't bring in Derek Carr to finish 7-10 and say, "Oh shucks, we missed the playoffs again." You brought him in to win division titles and to compete for the NFC. So do what you can to help him out. I don't have a lot of hope for Michael Thomas at the moment, and on the defensive side of the ball, Cam Jordan is old and they lost both Marcus Davenport and Caden Ellis to free agency. Whoever is the best available between these positions should, in theory, be the pick for New Orleans at 29. Now, from the south to the east we go, and first up is the Philadelphia Eagles. I know everyone has an opinion on running backs and where they should be drafted, but this opportunity does not happen often. It's not every day you can pair Bijan Robinson behind this offensive line. The running back room at the moment is Rashad Penny, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, and Trey Sermon, and Bijan today is better than all of those guys. Pick 31 can help the defense, but if you have an offense with this offensive line, along with Swole Batman and Devonta Smith, along with a player who just finished second in MVP voting in Jalen Hurts, I mean, who is holding these guys under 25 a game? Take Bijan and become an absolute juggernaut. Don't overthink the best running back prospect in the past 5 years, and arguably the past decade. He is one of the few blue chip players in this class, and he needs to become an Eagle. The Washington Commanders have the 16th pick, and throughout draft season, I've been pretty vocal about what they should do here, and I'm not getting off of this a few days before the draft either. Draft a corner. Hopefully Joey Porter Jr. or Deonte Banks are there, because A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, CeeDee Lamb, and presumably a first-round receiver for the Giants are guys you have to stop just to win your division. All of these guys will be under 26 years old at the start of the 2023 season and are not going anywhere for some time. You obviously can't stop these guys all at once or completely eliminate them from a game, but drafting the best corner with your first-round pick is the best way to try and accomplish this goal. The New York Giants are up, and what they should do is kind of spoiled within the Commander segment, but they need to draft the best receiver available. They just paid Daniel Jones a hefty chunk of change, and sure, you can argue they have bigger needs elsewhere, but they need to legitimately build around their quarterback. Darius Slayton, Richie James, and Isaiah Hodgins is not a good trio of receivers for anybody, let alone Daniel Jones, and there's only so much Brian Daboll can do from a coaching standpoint before being hopelessly outmatched. See the divisional round of the playoffs, for example. They overachieved in a big way in 2022, and I was happy to see them have the success they did, but in order to build on this, help out the guy who you just gave an awful lot of money to. Dallas is up, and what they do in the first round depends a lot on what happens in front of them. I would love for them to draft a defensive lineman, but if there's 3 defensive linemen already taken, I wouldn't want them to draft a mid-second round prospect to try and fill a need when there's better players available. And that concept applies for a lot of teams, by the way. The pipe dream is Bijan, but he should be long gone by the time they're on the clock, and I know they added Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore this offseason, but I wouldn't be upset if they went receiver or corner in the first round, the quality on the board obviously depending. There's a lot of avenues the Cowboys can go in the first round, and I hope Jerry does not make me regret saying this, but there's simply not a lot of picks the Cowboys could make where I would overly criticize. It's never bad to go BPA in the first round of the draft. Now on to the NFC North, and first up is the Detroit Lions. Their team is already very good, and I would love for them to take Jalen Carter if Seattle does not take him right in front of them, and it's for the same reasons. Detroit won't be drafting here again for some time, and they also have pick 18 in their back pocket, but if Carter is gone by this pick, then draft Will Anderson and have pass rushers of Will and Aiden Hutchinson for the next 5+ years. The Lions have 4 picks in the top 60, and there's almost no chance they can leave this draft without getting significantly better. For pick 18, I would love a corner since they recently traded Jeff Okudah, and if Carter is gone at 6, I also wouldn't hate Devin Witherspoon, the feisty corner from Illinois. Chicago at pick 9 is one of the easiest picks to mock, to me at least, as they need to protect Justin Fields. I think Paris Johnson Jr. is the best tackle in the class, and I think he is a plug-and-play guy for the next several years. If they want to draft Peter Skoronski from Northwestern, I also wouldn't be opposed to that, but they did a lot this offseason to help out Justin Fields, especially with the acquisition of DJ Moore. I do want to say, as this has come up recently, but the Bears running back room is Deontay Foreman, Khalil Herbert, and Travis Homer, so do not be surprised if Bijan becomes a Bear. Personally, I would take the best tackle in the draft, but what the Bears intend to do at 9 has been a very well-kept secret. Green Bay is entering a new era of quarterback play with Jordan Love, and nobody knows how he will play as a full-time starter. And with a question mark at the quarterback position or a younger player, what's the best thing to do to make his job easier? Give him a first-round weapon. Don't make the same mistake they did for Aaron Rodgers. Give Jordan Love a player like Jackson Smith-Njigba or even Dalton Kincaid from Utah. The Packers have avoided it all these years, and it's been time to give them a first-round weapon for, well, over half a decade now, but with a new quarterback, it's simple. Do not keep hiding from it. The Minnesota Vikings have pick 23, and there have been rumors of them trading up, so this could change even by the time this video is released. But if they stay at pick 23, I think there's 3 options. Corner, receiver, or trade down, as they do not have a second-round pick because of the TJ Hawkinson trade. It's going to be interesting to see how Kwesi Adofo-Mensah manages his second draft, as the team had terrible injury luck with his and head coach Kevin O'Connell's first draft, but I love the idea of trading down for this team. They need a legit number 2 receiver behind Justin Jefferson, and they certainly need another corner too. I hope you enjoyed the NFC version of this, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it would mean the world and help the channel a ton. My Patreon and Twitter links are in the bio if you would like to support the channel, and until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.